here on Sunday is, and we had talked earlier, like I said, I guess it was in Psalm Sunday this morning where we were talking, and Michelle said to me this morning, she says, you know what? I understand the realities of the day, of the year, of our conditions. She said, but I miss our building. And she didn't mean the physical building. She meant you, us, being there together. Because we all know that a house is a house, a home is different. And, you know, I guarantee you, are working the leadership still to try and get us back into this physical presence where all that cacophony that we just heard, you will experience live. So bringing back right now to continue, and Tony, if you could unmute yourself. Tony spoke to us last week about the, maybe I'll call it the theater of 2020. Tony, I don't know if you would describe it this way, but I feel like what you're doing is a continuation or an expansion of what you spoke about last week. So let's listen to what Tony has to say and welcome Tony to continue. Thank you.
Good morning, family. Happy New Year. I'm hearing someone. Okay, so it's January, and January at CSL means that we will once again revisit, review, and become intimate with the first 4 chapters of our teaching. So I want you to know that that is going to happen. There are 5 Sundays in January. We're just not going to do it today. I am going to continue the thread, and this thread will actually continue for some months as we go forward into 2021. But I am going to continue the thread because last Sunday we took a look at closing out 2020 with all of its challenges and difficulties, and what our part is and how we can be empowered going forward in 2021 and the rest of our lives to utilize this teaching to really create what we want. And so this morning, we're going to talk about intention. And we're not actually going to set intentions yet. What we're going to do is talk about what intentions are, how they impact us, and why they're important. And we're actually just going to take just a little initial look at what we may want to set as an intention. And so what we're doing is laying a foundation. And in the next 4 weeks, we're going to revisit the first 4 chapters of our teaching, the very foundation of our teaching. And then after that, we're actually going to go through the process of setting our intentions and the tools that we're going to use to create the 2021 that we want to experience. So one of my great joys about this teaching is that I know that I can create my life and my experiences, and the things that I don't have in quotes power over, I can at the very least most often influence. Excuse me, sorry. It is also, though, sobering to know that if I don't create an intention for my life, either somebody else may do it for me, or worse, I can be jostled here and there based on my beliefs and the energies in my own atmosphere, my own internal atmosphere. Like a leaf, when it falls from a tree, is transported by the wind. It just goes wherever the wind takes it. It gets to its destination eventually, it hits the ground, but where, how, and what are the conditions there? So if I don't make choices for myself and set intentions for myself and do the things that I want to do to get myself where I want to go, I'm at the mercy of goodness knows what. And of course, this brings to mind the infamous law of attraction, that like attracts like. And so, what we know in our teaching is whatever is going on in our unconscious is what manifests in our life, in our everyday experience. The law of attraction is like the law of mental equivalence in our teaching. But there are other laws. There's the law of opposites, or the law of polarity. So that comes into play, and lots of times we don't even realize it's kind of the law of attraction in reverse almost, but it's not reverse. It's really the law of attraction working. But you want something, and what you do is focus on the fact that you don't have it. So it creates more of what you don't want, because that's where your energetic focus is. I've also been looking at something for a long time, and I don't yet have a handle on it. But what I suspect, what I see, um, is that we also have the situation where there's a void created by the absence of something. And because there's nothing there, it can be filled with anything if there's nothing there to resist it. So, this is something I've been looking at for a while and trying to understand, because lots of times it's not what we have going on, but what's missing, the absence of something that creates a condition that we don't want to experience. Now, inherent in setting an intention is the influence of the past juxtaposed to the desire for something that we want in the future. Our sense of beliefs, our sense of self, our values, those are all inherent in our intention. And having an intention, setting an intention, creating an intention requires introspection and soul searching. It requires clarity. Now, there's a difference between a goal and an intention. An intention has a resoluteness or focus. It's the energetic foundation, the spirit of your decision or choice that you've made of what it is you want to manifest. It's what you're about, what you stand for, and it's also what you emit. It's a high watch. It's like holding the high watch for your life, for your year, for whatever it is that you want to experience or to express. And your intention informs your way of being, the things we do, the things we don't do, the way we live, how we interact, how we communicate. It's an ongoing constant. Now, yeah, it's similar to goals, but goals are usually finite. They have a measuring stick, a beginning and an end. And while similar, both require a decision of focus and action and commitment. But an intention is bigger, it has purpose and meaning. So, for example, it's the difference between losing weight and being healthy. It's the difference between telling the truth and being integral. It's the difference between loving another person and being loving. It's the difference between making money and being prosperous. The difference between the relative and the absolute. Intention is a compass that guides us away from and through what we don't want and towards and to what we do want. Now, one thing that I'm clear on is that 2020 gave us an illustration of oneness in the relative. It showed us how we are interconnected, how we can impact each other and have influence on each other. We probably have a greater awareness about how somebody else's health, habits, and beliefs can affect us from the other side of the world than we've ever had before, where we may not have even been aware of or interested in the other side of the world. But let's have some fun. Let's talk about setting our intention. So, as I mentioned earlier, when you're setting an intention, it requires that you look at or at least consider the past and the future. It's influenced by our sense of self, our beliefs, and our values, and it requires introspection, soul searching, and clarity. So, just as an example, when I did this initially, there are things that came up for me. Okay. So, actually, things came flooding in. We'll discuss that later. So, what I came up with were things that okay, this may not be true for you, but there are things that I have wanted to do all my life that I haven't accomplished yet. I've accomplished a lot of things and I'm grateful. But there are things I wanted to do all my life that I haven't accomplished yet. And I heard, I can't think of his name. Oh, shucks. The guy that wrote Hamilton, I heard him say that there are some things that just keep tapping him on the shoulder. They just keep tapping him on the shoulder and keep tapping him on the shoulder. And those are things that he pays attention to. So when I first did this as practice for our talk today, what came up for me were things that I've wanted to do for years, but I haven't accomplished yet. The past. Okay. Then some questions came up. What do I really want? What's important to me now? What do I feel like I need to do before I transition, before I leave this earth walk, so that I will know that I have lived my purpose, that I feel complete and that I feel fulfilled, because I don't want to leave this earth walk without that experience. So all of it came into play. My past, the present, the future, all of it came into play. And I had to look really deeply and search myself, because there are things I've wanted to do, and I don't know whether or not those are really important anymore, or if they really matter to me. So this is the beginning of our process. And I'm going to ask you to just dance with me and walk through this, because we want to have the first chapters of our textbook as a guide before we actually do this, so that we can have a powerful 2021, whatever your intentions are. So this is just a beginning point, because spiritual practices and tools are required. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. And please, if you would, just do this with me now. Okay. Let's do just an initial inner scan. Okay. We're just going to go within and listen to our heart and our gut. Okay. And see what they tell us. Now, you know the drill. If anything was possible, no limitations, what would you want to be, do, have, experience? What would you want to create? Do it from the perspective, I have unlimited magical powers. Nothing's in my way. What comes up for you? So let me give you an example. What comes up for me for 2021? First thing, top of my list, no COVID. Okay? Freedom to come and go as I please. Connection, being able to trust, being able to touch, rather, being able to hug you guys, being able to gather and have fellowship, being able to work and have income. coming in, peace, safety, security, for me, music, okay? Being free to perform, prosperity came up, financial freedom, my desire for creative expression, and being healthy and fit. Now, you may have noticed something. Not everything, but many of these things that came up when I did my first inner scan were a reaction or response to COVID. Okay. Other things were things that have been hanging out, tapping me on my shoulder for years that I haven't completed. Okay. But what came up were things that come from our God given rights, our instincts, our natural expressions and desires, okay, that come from God, from spirit, that innate desire. Those are things that came up that I think are common for all of us, okay, for the most part, because it's God expressing through us, okay? So, what you want to do when we do an inner scan is you want to then take a deeper look at what really resonates most in you, okay? So you can pick from those things for what you choose as an intention. And what you may also find is that one item encompasses others. And so I'm going to invite you just right now to do this for yourself. You can do it again later, of course, but just right now, I'm going to invite you to take an initial scan. And you might want to get a notebook or open a file on your computer when you do this. Get quiet, go within. You want to let it flow and don't judge, okay? This initial scan is about identifying your possible intentions for 2021 and for your life. Okay. So I want you, if you would, to just take just a moment and get quiet and do an inner scan and ask yourself, what do you want for yourself for 2021? Okay, so we're going to come back. Again, this is just your initial scan. I recommend that you do this with yourself at home, wherever. Get quiet, have a notebook, something to write on, and do your initial scan. So, as I mentioned earlier, for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be looking at the first 4 chapters of our textbook, the foundations of our teaching. We're going to be looking at the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how we use it. One of the reasons that we revisit this every January is because it is so important that we have clarity and that we understand this and are able to incorporate it into our everyday lives so that we can understand who we are, what we have available to us, and how to create the lives that we want to live. So our teaching, these first 4 chapters are really the bedrock of our teaching and give us the tools for realizing our intention. Our intentions are also the foundation or the umbrella, the context for our goals and our dreams. So if my intention is health, health is what informs where I shop, what I buy, how I prepare my meals, what, when, and how much I consume, the state of my body, my relationships, my home, my finances. It encompasses so many things. If my intention is prosperity, it's going to influence the work I do, what kind of work I do. It's going to influence my spending habits. It's going to influence the opportunities that I see or that come to me. It's going to be influencing my thoughts, my feelings, just so many things. And so I wanted us to have clarity that intention is much more than a goal. An intention is our high watch and the bedrock that we stand upon. And after we complete the first 4 chapters, then we're going to take a look at the practical application using our science of mind teaching, our spiritual practices, our tools for deliberately creating the intentions and the goals that we choose for ourselves. The things that we're going to do in 2021 to support and to manifest the lives that we really want to live. So thank you. I'm going to treat for us around this, and I really encourage you and invite you not to miss the next 5 Sundays. I invite you not to miss any Sundays, but don't miss the next 5 or 6 Sundays, okay? Because we, with our teaching, will be guided so that we set an intention so that nothing like COVID comes and impacts us. Do things happen? Yes. But there are those of us that were not impacted. We just had to stay home. Money kept flowing in, had plenty of food to eat, were able to still attend church. Others of us were impacted somewhat. Maybe the money didn't keep flowing in. We had food to eat, was still able to attend church, and for others of us, we were greatly impacted. So we want to use this teaching to create the life that we really want to live. So let's treat. So what I know is that there is a divine power and presence. I know that it is all powerful, all knowing, and everywhere evenly present. I know that it is creative, that it is forward moving. I know that it creates out of itself. It has created beauty and wholeness and harmony and joy. It has created things for us to experience, to utilize, to live with, to develop. It is an ongoing creative process, an ongoing creative essence. And I know that this presence and its creative beingness expresses in and through and as each one of us. It expresses in and through and as me. It expresses in and through and as the ongoing, expanding, unfolding of life. And I know that it, in being all knowing and all powerful, it is infinite and unlimited. It never stops. There is absolutely nothing that is more powerful that can interfere with it, that can interrupt it or harm it in any way. It is. And in its beingness, it is and it expresses by means of each one of us. And so I know that we utilize this creative essence, this creative process, this powerful creative being to experience the lives that we choose to experience, to create the lives that we choose to create, the things that we choose to create, to do, to be, to have are all a divine expression of this one presence, this one intelligence, this one power. And it is available to me always, no matter what. I simply have to be clear. I simply have to be aware. I simply have to be in practice. There are spiritual laws that are in place that I can use to create the life that I choose to live. It is really that simple. And so I affirm with this word that each person is divinely guided, divinely inspired. Each one knows what they need to know. Each one is guided where they need to be guided. Each one is supported in ways that they need to be supported. Each one is empowered and sourced in ways that are for their highest and best good, that each of us is safe and sound and healthy and wholesome and love filled and creative and joyous, because the divine presence that I call God is all there is, and it is expressing by means of each one of us. And so I know and affirm for each one of us here that 2021 is a powerful expression of everything that is right and perfect and good and healthy and wholesome, because God is expressing uniquely by means of you and by means of me. For this I give thanks. And I simply release this word into the law, knowing that it is the truth and it is God that makes it so. Please close with me. And so it is.